Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. We're looking forward to another big game coming up this weekend as Armagh take on Donegal and Clonus. As always, this podcast is brought to you in association with McKeever Teamwear, proud suppliers of all Armagh GA merchandise. I'm delighted to be joined by former Armagh midfielder and St Peters player Aaron Findon, and he's going to talk us through all the ins and outs that we could see this weekend. Aaron, delighted to have you on. And I suppose before we get into the actual game, Armagh and Clonus streamed with orange and white once again. It's great to be back in Clonus, and it's going to be a good day, hopefully for Armagh.
It hopefully, yeah. That's the main aim and main objective. But yeah, it's going back to the old school, back to the noughties, back to whenever we were all young pups and back enjoying it. But it's big stadium, what 30 something thousand. I doubt it'll be full to the rafters, but you'll hear crowds, you'll hear the intensity, you'll see Armagh sport going down. It's not that far down the road, thankfully for a lot of people. So you'd like to think a lot of people will come out in their numbers to get behind them, and kind of push them on, because it's a great place to be. It is. It's where everybody remembers going for Ulster finals. Everybody has good memories of it. Everybody enjoys being there. I have the same seat that I would have went to whenever I was a wee lad behind the nets, just for those memories and stuff, and to bring back those good feelings. So I'd imagine a lot of people are in the same boat going down.
It's a home from home for Armagh, or certainly was during the noughties, and I think that's how Armagh fans would feel pretty nostalgic going down this weekend, that it's a throwback nearly to the glory days when Armagh were competing in Ulster finals and winning Ulster, and the have a pretty good record in Clonus going back to the noughties.
Yeah, they would have a good record, and then if you call spade a spade, a lot of people would like getting the Isle Venga bus going down to Clonus and getting down Clonus Hill and stuff like that. So it's kind of Clonus to me has a party atmosphere. So everybody will be going down for that while watching the Armagh match and get behind them. But hopefully it'll be a great day and good weather and everything kind of goes Armagh's way all together.
And on the football side of it, Clonus probably suits Armagh better than obviously Ballybofey would for the first round of the championship. It's just a bigger field, obviously, is the main thing. And it's good to get Donegal out of Ballybofey and see what they're like somewhere else.
You hit the nail on the head there with getting Donegal out of Ballybofey. Going into the first round, you're kind of looking at Tyrone going to Ballybofey the last couple of years, and they couldn't come out with anything. They had good teams. It's a very tough place to go, very, very tough, and Donegal are comfortable in it. Clonus would be a wee bit, feels bigger anyway. It feels like there's more scope to kind of play football and go at teams a wee bit more. It's tougher to get behind the ball and kind of crowd it out, as well as being back at home in Ballybofey for Donegal. So hopefully it does suit Armagh. I would imagine so. Based on what Armagh were playing at the weekend, yeah, it should suit them a wee bit better. But then again, it's four white lines and roughly the same size as every RGA pitch, so it could suit Donegal just as much. Sitting on the fence on that one a wee bit.
And Aaron, you've played in them big days in Clonus. Remember the throwback to the 2014 semi-finals against Monaghan? There was a draw the first day, then Monaghan won the replay. Armagh actually haven't been in Clonus since 2019, but the buzz of championship football in Clonus, and as I mentioned, the big crowd, big Armagh crowd, the orange and white filling Clonus, it must be class for a player to be in the middle of that.
It is brilliant. I remember that would have been the first time that I was playing Clonus since I was a minor, and minor, I think, just kind of flies around you at the one time. But I remember sitting beside Stephen Falker and kind of on the bus on the way in, and he was kind of level-headed, because once you to warm up on the pitch outside Clonus, can't remember where it is, off the top of my head, and then you're met with the guards, so they have to take you through on the police escort through, and you can just see everybody splitting out the road. It's like Moses has just landed in, and the whole Orange Sea's just parted here, and then you have to go up the hill and everybody's going mad and stuff, and you can feel the buzz at that time. You're trying not to take it in, but at the same time you're kind of looking around, you're thinking, this is a far cry from driving through North Street in Lurgan, so it's a wee bit of a different atmosphere. Then you get into the stadium, and you Clonus, the inside of it, it's massive change rooms. Just like you have basically the whole side of the stand to yourself, so you've a lot of space to get yourself prepared, and then you're out onto a lovely surface every time you play in Clones. It's always lovely. So it's kind of all set up to get you to like just build you to let you go once the whistle comes in, and then the crowd start filtering in, and the noise gets louder, and you can see the stadium filling up, and the colour around the place. Like, so the place to me is almost built that at the top of that hill, so that you're just constantly rising as a player. To once that ball is thrown in, you can just let loose and kind of express yourself at times anyway.
And I think you got a goal in one of them games.
I did, and then I think Dick Clarkin nailed me about 5 minutes after. I was punctured. I think he didn't run down the sideline, and he took 2 or 3 people on. It smacked off the crossbar. Thankfully, there's like square crossbar instead of a round one, and I just punched it into the back. And I remember screaming that St. Stephen, and then about 2 minutes later, it's like Dick Clarkin come run down the line. And it's like, I just suck it up and try and do him here. He done me after. So it was very quickly took back down to ground.
And Arno, talking about 2014, obviously we'll have to talk about the Donegal game in Croke Park. And it sort of seems maybe a wee bit similar to now. I know Armagh, they're coming off one game, beating Tyrone, but beating the All-Ireland champions. After what all happened in the league and the Great League campaign had, there's a bit of momentum behind Armagh now, and that's probably the same way you went in to face Donegal in 2014. So what was the mindset in 2014? Because obviously, there's rows all over the field. Even Paul Grimley was getting involved at one stage. Like, what Armagh just weren't going to be pushed around that day.
Yeah, Armagh weren't going to be pushed around those couple of weeks, put it that way. The Donegal game was kind of like a crest of what we had been building over that couple of, I think it was about 5 or 6 weeks. From the Cavan game, obviously at the start of the year, you find out you're going to be playing whoever it is in the championship, and your focus throughout the league is kind of that team in the back of your head. You obviously want to do as well as you can in the league, but then that team's there. Which is something I don't really agree with, because you're kind of putting too much effort into just one game and blah, blah. But won the Cavan game, the 2 Monaghan games, but we ended up playing 5 weeks on the trot. Played Monaghan, Tyrone, Roscommon, Meath, and had a week break, and then played Donegal. So in, I think, 6-7 weeks, we had 5 games. So everybody in Ireland had kind of built us up to be the big bad wolf in the corner, and we didn't hide away from that. Like, we didn't actually want it. It wasn't our thing, but at the same time, we're like, right, if that's what you're going to paint us as, that's what you're going to paint us as. So going into the Donegal game, we weren't really going to shy away from that. We knew that they'd kind of take a certain edge to the table, and we were just thinking, right, that's us. Like, now I know, great photo of Paul Grimley trying to push one of the geese shot down the road. It's class. Like, everybody was getting involved, and some argue that that's not the spectacle of Gaelic football and stuff, but it just got the intensity going for both sides, and it kind of added to what was being played at the time. There is a wee bit of similarity in terms of that Armagh have come off the back of a good win, and they have momentum going into this Donegal game. The thing that I would say that is the difference between what Armagh played whenever Armagh played in Ballybuffet was they kind of dipped their toe in a wee bit in terms of physicality, and that's, I don't even really blame them. If it was me personally, I blame the media. Like, everything was made up for the weeks coming into it. Like, there was the whole appeals committees, and then there was the Tyrone stuff in the background, and everybody was kind of going at Armagh, and if the GA themselves, Armagh and Donegal were under the microscope, and if anything was going to kick off, they were going to be nipped in the bud straight away. Like, you look at Rain's yellow card, he kind of puts his foot in on the ball for a tackle. To me, it wasn't too far in front of me. There was no real maliciousness in it. He was just trying to stop the ball, and he was getting the yellow card straight away. So that's, to me, the referees were told to be very, very strict, and so Armagh were being a wee bit cautious, and by being cautious, it played into Donegal's hands. Like the Armagh, whenever they're physical and they're playing on the front foot, they can start to dominate teams, but if you're kind of sitting off a wee bit, not through their character, just because you're almost afraid to think we could get it. Like every county player at the moment, if you pick up a yellow card, depending on where you are, you're liable to get pulled off about 5 or 10 minutes later, because no one can really afford to go down to 14 men this day and age. Like, whereas you go back 20 years ago, you're almost told the yellow cards, that's for free. You're allowed to get a yellow card, really. Like, so I'm kind of hoping that Armagh and Donegal go at it and be physical, not fighting, definitely not, like, but definitely be physical this weekend, because it will, to me, it'll go in Armagh's favour a wee bit more, because it'll get them going more so than what happened in Ballybuffet.
I think if Armagh are to get the best out of themselves, they do have to bring that aggression up there. And we've seen it against Tyrone, like round the middle, Ben Creeley, Stephen Kelton, just hopping at balls, just throwing their bodies on the line. Like, and the Armagh need that physicality. That's when they're playing their best football, when they're at that level of aggression.
Yeah, like if you look back to the noughties, so Brad McAlinden brought aggression to that team in '99 and before that, and then that kind of spilled over and got All Ireland with Joe Kiernan. Like, Armagh have traditionally been good whenever they are aggressive, and like that's aggressive in how you call for the ball, how you go for the ball, how you like handle it, how you take people on, how you shoot, and how you defend it, and all that. It's not aggressive in that you're just going to go and thump the head off some fella. Like it's a physical sport. It's a contact sport, so you have to expect contact. And if Armagh are aggressive in that area, I think that's where they get their momentum from the straight away, from the off.
And we talked about 2014. I want to talk about 2015 as well, because while 2014 is similar to this Sunday, 2015 is probably similar to what happened in Ballybuffet. Coming off the back of that All-Ireland quarter-final in 2014, there was a lot expected of Armagh in 2015. They had Donegal, who were the All-Ireland champions in 2012, All-Ireland finalists in 2014. They had them at home in the Athletic Grounds, Kieran McGeeney's first championship game as manager, and it just didn't work out. It was something similar to what we've seen in Ballybuffet 6 weeks ago. It was flat, and it just didn't happen on the day for Armagh.
It didn't work out, like, and this is kind of where I go back to, like, whenever you find out who you play in the championship in November, like, at the back of your mind, you're always thinking of that team. And we had a decent enough league campaign in 2015. Like, we got out of Division 3 where we want, and we got back to Division 2 where we want to be. But then you have about 6 or 8 weeks to focus on one team. And, like, it's not that we changed any tactics to how to handle them, but you're constantly focusing on them. So it could be like a paralysis by analysis. Do you just get a wee bit stifled and stuff like that? Now, going into the game, you don't feel like that. Like, I remember we met up on the Saturday down in Athletic Grounds, go through walkthroughs and stuff, and the pitch was brilliant. The sun was unbelievable, and walking around, and I remember going through kickouts with Ethan thinking, this is going to be good. Tomorrow's going to be a good day for us. Like, we're going to go at them. But then it was McBurdy scored an early goal and put us on the back foot straight away. And once we were on the back foot and chasing Donegal at that stage, like that Donegal team were good, like made the All-Ireland final and stuff. They were well versed in what they were doing. We were up against it. Like, I think it was about 15 minutes or so before we got the first point, and I think I got the first point. I had to just punch it over the bar. Like, it took us a while to just get our foot in the door, and at that stage we were just always chasing it, and they were comfortable. It was a comfortable win for them. It's like unfortunate.
You said you were going through kickouts with Ethan Rafferty. It should be pointed out he was your midfield partner. He wasn't the keeper back then, but he's changed his position now, Aaron, and got he's got GA Player of the Week. He was unbelievable last week. 2 points, saved a point, cleared the ball off the line. He had some game.
He did, and that one where he got the free kick for us to get another score as well. He had some. He was brilliant at the weekend. Like, arguably a tie for man of the match between Soupy and Morgie in my head. Everybody else, Taman done the role, like, but then he definitely stood out. Now, going back to then, what age would he have been? Like 21, 22. Both of us, like, I think we were up against. Oh God, I forgot.
Neil Gallagher that time, was it?
And yeah, it was Neil Gallagher and
Martin McElhenney, maybe, was it?
No, I don't think Martin started midfield. He might have been in and around there anyway. Like, but I definitely remember Neil Gallagher, and both of us, we were young against a very experienced footballer, put it that way. Like, and he knew what he was at. Now, again, I thought we actually done all right around the middle on kickouts. Both of us doubled up at times, a good lot. But he's kicked on. Maybe that cruciate injury has kind of hurt him in terms of like out the pitch fitness, but it's been a very good move to put him in the midfield just because he has length, his kickouts. He can kick off with the left and the right foot. Like he pinned someone with his right foot, and Ballybuffet, and that's his weaker foot. And obviously he's getting scores and stuff like, but he's fairly changed in comparison to 2015. Like he's going the whole way back to that. Like,
and Aaron, we're gonna have to talk about his kickouts because Donegal obviously had joy on his kickouts the last day. Ethan did come out the field against Donegal, but obviously not to the same effect that he did against Tyrone. Donegal's going to have a plan for him here coming up the field. They're well warned at this stage that he can kick a point from probably anywhere within inside 50 meters, and they pressed really hard on him the last time on his kickouts. So, and that was with Niall Grimley, Conor Mackin, and Tiernan Kelly, three big men that are three big losses for Armagh. So you'd expect the same again from Donegal here. What can Ethan expect, and what can he change, I suppose, or how can Armagh get more success off the kickouts?
If Ethan, the biggest thing that he probably expect is that they can't really target him physically. They'll probably target him more mentally. Like they'll be screaming in his face whenever he's trying to take a kick out, and they will push up. There's no doubt about it, because if they can afford, like, who do they got across the middle? Langan, McFadden, Thompson, could bring Murphy out around the middle, and
Jason McGee. Like, you could literally just put them four across midfield and try and camp in, and it's a bit of a risk that you might have to leave somebody free in the full forward line with the hope that, like, they probably think that Patton can technically mark him and make it look like he's marked anyway, and stuff like that. So Ethan, they're going to try and break him more mentally as opposed to physically, because they can't really put hands on him, stuff like that. I would imagine they'll try. The kickouts are just chess. Like, if you go short, the team's going to push up on you. Then that gives you an opportunity to kick long. But once you kick long, you have to win that ball. And then vice versa. Once you kick long 2 or 3 times and you're winning, they're going to drop off, and then you get that opportunity to kick short again and you get easy ball. So they need to make the first 3 or 4 kickouts count, put it that way. And I thought they'd done very well against Dublin in the league whenever they were just going short very quick. Like, Blaine was coming running out, putting the ball down and getting it moving straight away. Like, and Dublin just couldn't really push up on them. Because they were trying to do counter-attacking football and the ball was going dead, but they didn't have enough men up the pitch to get at them. So you're kind of hoping that Armagh, through fatigue later in the game, can get away with a lot more short kickouts. But at the start, you just need to be calculated. So if it was me personally, I would want the ball kicked out on top of me, just because you want to be in the game and stuff. But I would be wanting, like, if you're going off the midfield that was playing there at the weekend with Bug and Ben, you want them to double up. You don't want them going singly, and you need to try and stop that runner over the top of the likes of Langan or McFadden. You just need someone basically clamp them down and either give a person a one-on-one aerial battle or just try and get them that wee bit extra space and then work on the breaks. But it needs to be very, like, and I would imagine that the kickouts need to go very quick. But at the same time, instead of speed, like, there's something to be said for going slower and being slower and being confident to go slow. Like you look at Morgan there at the weekend in terms of the 2 free kicks he took. I don't know, he must have took about a minute and a half getting up the pitch. Like, when does any free kick taker get a minute and a half to set themselves up for a free kick? Goalkeepers get a wee bit more lenience at times if they're looking confident. If a goalkeeper comes out scrambling and sets the ball down, then it kind of sets a panic to everybody else, and then Donegal will be screaming at you going like, oh, too long, blah, 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 and then that puts you under pressure to maybe make a wee bit of a slight mistake. Whereas if you come out quick but you're relaxed, you're looking relaxed, it feeds to the referee that, oh, he's looking for a pass, and you might just see that one wee pocket with the boys moving in and around. So it is a tough one. There's no doubt about it. It is a tough one for him. But again, if it was me in the middle, like looking at Ben and Bug, I would be looking Ethan to try and kick over the top of that press. It's like, if there's a bit of a wind, like you look at Patton, like Patton, Morgan,
begging and stuff, like they're booming the ball 60 or 70 yards straight down the middle, and it's relieving pressure off the defense. And even if they don't win it, the ball's that far away that you can still get set up and stuff. Like, now obviously you don't want to be losing the ball, but if you do win it, you're one-on-one inside because they've pushed up. You might have an overload, and you kind of get a wee bit of joy off it, but it's going to be tough for them. There's no doubt about it. Like,
it probably goes back to the aggression thing, Aaron, when we're talking about they're probably going to have to break the ball and try to get bodies in round it, and that's where your aggression shows when you're coming up. Armagh probably physically can't match up to Donegal, listing off their big men there, and the men Armagh are missing, but on the ground they're just going to have to be warriors in there, and it's going to be a war zone.
It's who wants the ball most in them situations, and I think Armagh have a lot to prove in terms of that they want the ball now. Like, and if you just get one person to get up and flick it, and it comes down into a group situation, you just hammer it in. You're kind of hoping that it's direct ball's a bit of a luck thing as well. It's a lottery times. Like, you can put yourself in the best position in the world, then something can smash the ball over the top of your head, and you're all of a sudden you're chasing it down. And when you look the worst fool in the world, but it is just aggression. Yeah, like it's who wants the ball most in that bit of a cauldron. And then the more times, if that happens 2 or 3 times, and Armagh gets success of it, then you can just clip the ball short and go straight away and work the ball up the pitch. Like, now ideally you don't want to be running it up the pitch all the time, because you don't want to be running 120, 130 yards. So you try and move it through the hands and take your own sting out of it. But that's, you play the game as you see it at the time. Like,
I think Armagh can mix up their running game with a kicking game, and we've seen that with Tyrone. And I just want to pick out one player, Aaron, that we're going to have to talk about. It's Rian O'Neill, and we spend a lot of time in this podcast talking about him. But just on this game, he didn't score off Brendan McCole the last day. Everybody wants to see him play inside, and he's a bit like we feel about Rian O'Neill the way Donegal feel about Michael Murphy. He probably has to come out at stages, but everybody wants to see him on the edge of the square. And just given that Armagh are missing so many big men, like as I mentioned, Conor Mack and Niall Grimley and Tiernan Kelly all started that last game against Donegal. All 3 of them are out. Is Rian O'Neill going to have to come out the field further? And are you making a case then for maybe starting Andrew Murnan? Or, how do you see Armagh, dealing with Rian O'Neill? Do you see him staying in the edge of the square and having a point to prove and scoring off McCole? Or what do you see happening?
Yeah, well, you probably have a point there with Andy coming in and being a presence in the square and letting Rian go out. Now, Rian, to me, he scored a perfectly good goal. Like, and the one just before that, where I thought he should have punched it, but he caught it. Like, he shows that there is danger in there, and like that will scare Donegal. Like, that will make them kind of sit back a wee bit. Like, for talk's sake, on our kickouts, if we sat Rian inside and full forward, there's no way that they leave him on like a smaller man, so they might just drop back a wee touch, which kind of gives them like a yard of county football is massive. Like, it might just give that wee bit of pressure or take that bit of pressure off. So I would like to see him inside for longer spells, but I can understand why he's out around the middle. Like, he is physical, he's willing to get stuck in. Like, is the way that he can play passes. Like, you look at the one for Soupy just after Mackin got injured at the weekend. It's not a massively great pass, but he's still confident to take it. Like, he was confident in himself that he was going to kick it across field. Like, everybody's kind of a wee bit static now. Soupy done well, catching it above his head and taking whoever was it on, putting it over the bar. But it's having that confidence. You need people with that confidence right around the middle. And I'm not saying that the rest of the Armagh players don't, but like, he kind of has a wee bit more of a luxury because he's captain. Like, he's not looking over his shoulder at any stage thinking, if I make 3 or 4 mistakes here, I'm getting whipped. Like, if you know what I mean. So it's a tough one. Like he probably is Murphy of 8 years ago, that he can do both, and you don't want him to be a victim of his own success, really. Like, you kind of look at Charlie Vernon there a couple of years ago. Charlie was good at going into any position, but you didn't really know where Charlie's position was. Like, could he play fullback? Could he play midfield? Could he play half forward? He would have went and he'd have done a role for you, no problem. You don't want Rian to not have a settled role. Like, you want him to be comfortable and playing throughout for the next 10, 12 years and knowing where he's going to be and kicking off. There's no doubt about it. Like, he wants to score and he wants to win, and he'll give the ball to the person in the best position too, which is good. So having him inside gives Armagh a big threat. But at the same time, you have an argument that Andy going inside and winning his own ball gives Armagh a big threat, and it lets you leave Rian out right in the middle.
Yeah, because on that, I'm thinking of Andrew's second point. I think it was Rian O'Neill sent the diagonal ball in, and Andy caught it and off his left foot. But just on that, Aaron, is starting Andrew Murnan taken away from your impact subs? Because against Donegal the first day, like Armagh had a serious subs bench. They had Soupy to come in, Oisin O'Neill to come in, Aidan Nugent, Ross McQuillan, and the game was over by the time most of them come on. So Soupy's obviously established himself. He's going to be a guaranteed starter now this weekend. But the likes of Andrew Murnan and Turbo, do you need to hold them in reserve so you do have something in the last 15-20 minutes when the game's there to be won?
It's an interesting one. I wouldn't. I know the whole term is impact sub. I'm just looking at the way county teams set up at the moment. You don't really have an impact sub as much. You have a team that will play at a certain output, and anybody that comes off the bench won't dip that output. They'll keep the output at the same, because if you have someone that's so good that's going to change the game in 10 minutes, why not let them play 50 minutes and 60 minutes? You want that high intensity being kept for a long time. That's why, you look at Duffy, I think Duffy's playing phenomenal at the moment. But right from the start of the year, he's getting 2 or 3 points a game, but his work rate up and down, and come 50 minutes, he's gassed because he's put so much effort in. He's getting back behind the ball, he's dispossessed, he's turning it over, he's moving the ball forward, he's getting on the end of things, he's scoring, he's getting up personal or squeezing on kickouts. Then he's coming back and he's working with men one-on-one. You can't really last a full game with that output. And you look at the same whenever Jamor, anybody that's on 10 and 12, if you can make it to 50 minutes, putting in a good shift, you've done really well, and you're letting somebody come on that's going to keep that output high again. Now, Armagh are a wee bit under pressure in terms of the injuries. There's no doubt about it. You can't lose 4 men who have been starting. It is 4 in his TK, Mackin,
Now Grimley,
and even Paddy Burns.
Paddy Burns.
I don't even know what way he's going to be. It's tough to take those losses. Now, looking at the bench, there is people there that can still come in and make an impact, and not just make an impact, just keep the whole thing ticking over. But yeah, I would say Soupy starts to go at them, and with the confidence that he has, we've all seen it in club football, whenever he has that confidence, he's very, very tough to stop, and he'll scare them. And by him being on the pitch from the start might kind of give Rory a wee bit more freedom, because Rory, ever since the Dublin match, everybody's been kind of latching on to him and sticking with him, and he's still getting us joy. Against Donegal, he still came away with 3 or 4 points, and some tough frees hitting too. If they kind of go with Soup and he's running at them, you can't double mark a person whenever he's running at pace. He can stand in front of him and suck and try and bottle him up, but it might just allow Rory that wee bit more freedom that he hasn't had at times. So there's positives to having a wee bit of a change, but I wouldn't say so much that there's impact subs there that you want to come in and kick 2, 3 or 4 or 5 points. It's just more, can they keep the intensity up throughout the game and not take anything away from the team, make sure that you're still playing at a high level.
And Aaron, heading into this one now, I have no doubt Donegal didn't want this draw after beating Armagh so convincingly. It's obviously going to be tough. Armagh coming in with good momentum. It's going to be tough for Donegal to do it again. If you're thinking of what's going on inside their camp, they're coming off losing the Ulster final and losing it in sort of heartbreaking circumstances, only 2 points after extra time, and the big tactical battle they had with Derry, while Armagh are coming in off the back of a really good win against Tyrone. What will the feeling be in the Armagh camp now? I was reading an article today, I think it was Stephen McDonald, said that they can't rely solely on revenge to be a motivation, that it's going to take more than that to beat Donegal. revenge will have a part to play in it, but how big of a part will it have in the Armagh camp this week?
It'll add to the percentage, revenge, but overall it can't be your ride motivation, because if you put Donegal out of the road and you go into an All-Ireland quarter-final and you don't have the revenge of the motivation of beating Donegal, where is your motivation coming from? That can't be your sole focus. It has to be about the team, and about how you can express yourself and put your principles and put what you've worked on all the year, or even over the last 6 or 7 years, into play and show it. Because there's no doubt about it, coming off out of Ballybuffet, I was just disappointed for the boys. And I was annoyed because I was listening to a few idiots coming down the road and they were like, he was mocking, he was deaf and blah blah. He'd never started my team, and I was like, why do that, like some of them just didn't get going. And even at that, they tried. So a few of them tried very hard, but that was not a true reflection on them. That's not them as footballers. So a few boys and the team in general will more want to prove what they're about, as opposed to proving that they're there to just take Donegal and take them out and have that revenge. It's not about that. It's about the overall process and the steps, and looking forward to hopefully playing an All-Ireland quarter-final and then being able to test yourself against whoever you come up against, and then getting your test yourself in game. It's about the test more than revenge, in my opinion. That will be what's going through the Armagh camp, and I'm trying to show what the best you have to offer will be their motivation.
And Aaron, just to finish up then, I think if Armagh bring the same level of intensity and the way they play it against Tyrone, they can beat Donegal, especially as we mentioned earlier, outside of Ballybuffet. How do you see it going here? Do you see Armagh bringing that same level of intensity and bringing that same level of performance and getting over Donegal, or how do you see this one playing out?
I like that the matches come around very quick, and that it is a good test. And don't get me wrong, at the weekend I was texting my cousin, I was kind of saying Roscommon or Kildare more so wanted a bit of a drive to go somewhere, but I kind of thought they're two teams that Armagh will get a tough test against, but I'm confident that they'll beat them no problem. Here it's more of a 50-50 one, because there is the whole Ballybuffet thing hanging over the camp and stuff. Now I still reckon Armagh can push on and take Donegal. They're, in my opinion, they'll be in the same sort of boat. They'll think, right, Armagh's tough draw, could have been easier ones, but they know that they're going to have to be on the top of their game. With these games, it's kind of like a replay. Like with a replay, it's who learns the most will win, really. And Armagh have a lot more scope to learn. If I was them, I'd be putting Aidan O'Murphy do the same sort of role that Brendan Rodgers done. Get him going forward and get Aidan on the ball and make Murphy chase him back and kind of almost force him into a sweeper role, so that he can hopefully get a few points on the board, because Aidan's got an engine on him all day. He's good on the ball. He can obviously kick scores and be physical around the middle. Push. I would near say push up on the kick out at times. Now people will give off that Armagh didn't push up at the start of the first half, and I can understand why. I was sitting behind the goals behind Patton, and there was a big enough wind. And Donegal have done this over years, where it's almost like a bit of a T formation, where they get their fullbacks and centre halfbacks kind of inside, put two men way out in the wing, and bring Murphy to just the other side of halfway, and Patton just smacks the ball, and Donegal run at the break. If they don't win the break, they're very smart on fouling quick. If you look back at the Derry match, anytime they got the ball, it was just like a wee bit of a pull or a tug, and Derry couldn't really get the momentum. Whereas if the ball flicks on, Owen Ban Gallagher, Ryan McHugh and stuff, cutting through as fast as you can. So it's a very risky strategy to do. I would like to see Armagh doing it at times, to try and bring whoever's in midfield into the game, because they need to feel like they're dominating. They need to feel like they're being physical and they're being the aggressors. It's all right, somebody coming over the top of you and constantly, you're trying to battle for a ball on your own kick out, and someone hits you 2 or 3 times in the back of the head or on the shoulders or something, and you drop the ball, and it can start to annoy you. You want to do that on the other side of it. So them wee things, I think, need to be there in terms of the aggression. And I do think that Soupy will get a wee bit more attention, well fit for it, and it'll take attention. It has to take attention off somebody else, probably Rory. lets him get into the game a bit more from play, a bit more comfortable, like he has a wee bit more time and stuff. He's not just someone's hanging off the side of him, and gets to bring people in to it. Andy could potentially start. Don't know who you take out. Like, I mean, it's just tough to find. Like, everybody that played at the weekend has merit to start again. Like, every one of them, even Conor O'Neill. I know he was taken off early, but I thought he done very well. Got Armagh's first score. Like, showed great skill coming down his right foot to clip it over with his left. Good confidence. So I don't really know with Paddy being out, you don't like, you might just drop someone back and give Andy that wee bit more space. And then in terms of Ethan, I think a big thing for him could be like whenever he was coming out against Tyrone, he was going out at full speed. And he is one of the fastest in the Armagh team. I know you might not look at it because he is a lot bigger than some of the smaller people, but whenever he gets up, like, he is flying, and he's the guts of 90 kilogram or kg or whatever. Like, it's hard to handle. Like, so if he's running into space, he's more dangerous. Whereas again in Ballybofey, he was running up to the 65 to take that ball and then move it to the side, or take it again and move it. Like, he's not a pivot man. He's there to just go straight, try and suck a bit of attention, someone come up the side and flick it, or like try and draw a foul somewhere along the line. So I do think Armagh they just need to be aggressive all round. But it's there for them. I think the potential to learn and the potential to grow from where the were in Ballybofey is far more than what Donegal. Like, Donegal have kind of shown their hand, like outside of pushing Murphy inside and trying to keep him there, which a lot of people in Donegal are probably complaining that he didn't do against Brendan Rodgers for enough, and playing people across the middle. I don't really know what Donegal bring that's different. Like, there's no, that I can't really see many surprises coming to Armagh here, whereas Armagh have the options here in terms of what they can do on Donegal. So I'm kind of thinking Armagh by 2, but then there's the other side of it. Donegal are very good. Where Donegal, in my opinion, big teams, is that you can feel you're in a game. Like, you can be kind of like, they score, you score, they score, you score. And then all of a sudden they get like 2 or 3 points in a row that you've brought the ball up the pitch, you've done all the hard work, you've maybe got turned over, you've maybe shot wide. And after about 10 or 15 minutes of that happening, you look up the scoreboard and you're 4 or 5 points down, and like, you're chasing the game. If you can keep Donegal score for score, and you look at like them score graphs that people do, like they scored in 6 minutes, then they scored in 9, that's kind of the trajectory. If you can keep them at a 1-point game the whole way through, in favour of or behind, coming into the melting pot, like you're going to be in a very, very good position with them. Like, if you let them tear away and get ahead of you, it's very hard to claw back against Donegal. Like you just need to be making sure that you're clinical. And what was it, Armagh scored 70% of their chances or something, or shots at the weekend. That's very good. That's a good statistic. That's good for them going into this weekend. You want that. Like, you need to be very, very careful on your shot selection, but at the same time taking risks to get Donegal. Like, if you play 1 or 2 balls inside high, they're going to have to drop off you. You might not win them, you might win them, you hope you do win them, that they're going to fall back a wee bit more, but it's just chess. It's just trying to move them around as much as possible. Like.
So we're hoping for a good day and a good day out, and everybody, there's clubs doing buses to Clonus. Everybody, it's a throwback to the good old days, as we sort of said. There'll be plenty orange and white in Clonus, and really looking forward to the atmosphere and everything that will bring. So if you haven't got your ticket yet, make sure to go and get it and get to Clonus. Armagh need all the support they can get. Kieran Donaghy was given a rallying call this week. Get out, get supporting the team, get your Clonus filled with orange and white, and get it feeling like the Athletic Grounds was last weekend. We'll obviously be back on Monday with our review show with Aaron Kiernan. We'll hopefully be talking about a win, and we'll be putting out previews and match reports and everything, of course, as we usually do for the Armagh match and for all the club action this weekend as well. Just before we finish, best of luck to the ladies this weekend, and best of luck to Armagh Camogues. They're both in action, and hopefully it's a clean sweep for Armagh this weekend for all 3 Armagh teams. Aaron, brilliant having you on, and great to hear your thoughts on the game, and hopefully we'll get an Armagh win this weekend.
Hopefully. Everything crossed.
Good man. Thanks, Aaron.
Man, thank you very much. See you later on.